Hey, Larry, thank you so much for being with me on the Purposeful Mindset podcast. Honestly, I am just excited today. I'm so excited. I'm super grateful to have your time, your energy, your wisdom that's about to come because I can already feel it. I already know from since you just told me your age, I was like, holy moly, like someone that I want to learn from because I know you have so much more life experience, so much more success than me. And I am just so grateful to have you on the show. So thank you for being here, Larry. And I want to dive straight into it. I am going to be quiet and just sit here listening to the wisdom you're going to share from your own life lessons in life and business. And I'm looking forward to really just get as much value as I can from you.
Sadiq, I am honored and humbled to be on your show, number one, on this podcast. You've done such a wonderful job. And it's just so rewarding to see young guys like you who are so enthusiastic, hardworking, ambitious, and who want to serve and make the world a better place. And you're doing all of those. So I'm looking forward to our conversation today. And I'm excited that your listeners are going to get some couple of pearls of wisdom maybe today here in the next 30 minutes.
For sure. Honestly, I'm sure they will get a lot of pearls of wisdom. So Larry, it's literally over to you. I'm literally in listening mode now. And I just really want to get you to share like what are your top life lessons that you've learned in throughout your journey, throughout your success, your failures, your mistakes, and just like the thing that has made you the person you are today. I'm really
Mm.
curious to just learn that more about how you've become where you are today.
Yeah, the format is very insightful, Sadiq, in trying to harness in on five because I'm 65 years old. I've had a fairly long journey, and it can go all over the place. And sometimes, really, to narrow it to five, it encourages the guests, such as myself, to really focus. What are those five things? There could be 10 or 20, but what are the five really important ones? Just so for your listeners, 65 years. I've had a beautiful and a wonderful life. There's been losses, they've been gains. I've been a fitness professional as a personal trainer, as a conditioning coach, and also as a business and life coach now over a period of 32 years. Resided in San Diego. Fitness got in when I was just a little bit older than you, little my early 30s, and before that, I had spent some time in the service in the Navy. I was educated at the Naval Academy in Annapolis, and I had a couple of different careers until I got into the fitness business, and it has been a calling probably from 10 years old. And my first lesson is this: is to be spiritually strong and physically strong are really important in life. Okay. And physicality doesn't necessarily mean you can run marathons and do echo challenges, not necessarily, but just to have a good physical body. Okay. When you're physically strong and capable, that helps your confidence. And I think it also helps your appearance. If you look good and feel good, you're more confident. That helps you. Okay. Physiologically, mentally, and emotionally. And then also spiritually strong or spiritually least engaged. Um, whatever your spirituality is, whatever your definition of a higher power is, if you have one, whatever that spiritual sense is, I feel that as a foundation and your physical conditioning as a foundation so important. I realized that at a young age, at the age of 10, and I kept on that track throughout my life. So those two things, spiritual strength and physical strength. And the reason I say that is that loss will happen in your life. And whether it's the death of a family member, whatever it happens to be, or disappointment. And when you're physically and spiritually strong, you will be able to overcome adversity and to respond to it. So, number one is spiritual strength and physical strength as a foundation. That has helped me in my walk and in my journey. I would have to say that's number one.
I love that, Larry. Just to kind of add into that as well,
Yeah.
I really agree with you because I think for me, like those two things are like every single Monday I share my Monday motivation fitness video
Mhm.
only because of that. Literally, what you've been sharing. Like I believe the mind, body, and soul connected is the most beautiful and most peaceful thing that one can have in their life. And so I share that video purposely only on Mondays to kind of inspire and motivate everybody to go and keep fit, keep active, keep moving. Because I honestly believe if you do that physical right, then your mind is right, because you start releasing stress, you release those hormones and that negative energy from your body, and you can just focus more on your life, your work, your relationships and friendships and stuff like that. And so, and then as you said, the spiritual aspect as well. If someone is very spiritual, they can also meditate or pray or do whatever it is they need to do to find that inner peace as well. So I'm totally with you. Like, I think those three things are 100% connected, and it can honestly change how we feel, number
Mhm.
one, and number two, just how we show up in the world.
Uh, and I agree. And it's a sense of creating good habits and with purpose, focusing on those two. And the second lesson, Sadiq, is this: um, lead in life, do not follow. And the reason I put that one as number two, if you're spiritually and physically strong and have a great foundation, your confidence is greater, um, and you'll be able to lead and not follow. Now, when I say follow, you can have a mentor in life. It doesn't mean that you get into avocations or vocations that perhaps you're in a learning situation and you do have to follow people. But it's also this, our society, there's a lot of escapes. Recently I look at, and not to judge him, Tony Hsieh, the
Mm-hmm.
CEO of Zappos,
Mm-hmm.
tragically passed away in a house fire. And they delved into it a little quicker that perhaps it was self inflicted. He had been into some drugs, he had been into some alcohol, and I don't want to spread any rumors, but there's some things that came out. And there was a man after 20 years, created a great company, he's in his mid 40s, but he went to an escape for whatever reason. He went to escapes. I do believe that in leading yourself, spiritual and physical strength, and then lead, don't get caught up in other people's choices or decisions. When I was in high school, Sadiq, I never got into the drug area. My generation, a lot of people were doing drugs. I saw a lot of talented people, including my late older brother, who got into drugs and went down a wrong path in life. It would have been so easy just to kind of get in with the in crowd,
Yeah.
just to kind of go along with what everybody else is doing. It takes strength, physical strength, spiritual strength, mental and emotional, to stay away from that, but lead in life. Don't just aimlessly follow anybody, because that can be dangerous and also could lead to escapes to get you off your game. So lead and do not follow. So that's my number two. I've always tried to do that, sometimes more successfully than in doing certain endeavors and others. And that's part of learning your lessons. You might fail at something, but always with the intention to lead in life.
I love that. And I just want to add my bit to that as well.
Sure.
Is like one thing that I learned through my personal growth journey was, honestly, Larry, I never ever even knew there was a word called servant leadership. Like, I didn't know.
Mm,
I was confused when I first heard servant leader. I was like, what does that mean? What, the person in charge is sweeping the floors? Like, they're the servant? Like, I didn't understand until I really dove deep into this concept of servant leadership, and I understood that servant leadership is just leading by being of service. It's literally you being humble, being kind, not being arrogant, not being rude. It's just being there for your team, for the people that you're around, for your friends. And
mm,
it's genuinely having that compassion and love for others, to be like, hey, just because I'm up here, it doesn't mean that you can't, like, I'm not going to come and help you down here. Like, that's that fine line between arrogance and confidence. That's what I learned from servant leadership. And honestly, today, every single thing that I do, from my content, from my podcast to my videos to my coaching to everything, I just want to live my life being that servant leader to everybody, just being there to care, to show up for them, to, it doesn't matter who it is. Like, I reply to every single comment on my social media just because I care. Because I know someone took the time to reply to my, or watch a video or read something that I shared out there. I am gonna, be that servant leader to go back and be like, hey, I'm gonna show you some love back because you showed me some love. And
I
so
think,
I love that concept.
Sadiq, one wonderful follow here on your comments is, and I'm so impressed. You're a young guy and you're just so on top of things. Is leading by example, and that's kind of what you're talking about a little bit.
Yeah,
When you talk about compassion and caring, is leading by example. And remember one of Robin Sharma's books,
yeah.
The Leader Without a Title. You could lead and still be in an organization. Doesn't necessarily have to be your own business, and doesn't mean you're necessarily the head manager or the head supervisor, whatever it is, but you could lead as an individual.
Hmm.
Okay. You could still lead in
Yeah.
how you conduct yourself, how you engage, how you accept the purpose of the brand, possibly that you work for. Okay. There's nothing wrong with this. You could work for somebody else, but still lead and provide just great value for that particular business's mission or purpose. And when you do that, you actually elevate yourself, because you're not only elevating the company, but you're elevating yourself personally and professionally, which is then it's a win-win. So I find that leading in life, whatever aspect of life you look at, don't be afraid to lead, because it's easier not to,
Hmm.
but when you avoid it, that's when, I don't want to say you can get into trouble, but then that's when you're not your true self, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something else. Um, the third one, Sadiq, and this is an important one, and I think you're doing this in how you're reaching out to others, is who you surround yourself with, and the term excellence breeds excellence. If you're around capable, similarly aligned souls who are spiritually strong, physically strong, who do want to lead in life, that is a great thing. Okay, because then that rubs off on you. The environment you're in rubs off on you. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that if you're in a challenging environment, you cannot change those circumstances. Look at our great friend Doug Bobst,
Hmm.
who was incarcerated for a time, but he made the decision, I'm not going down the road of all other felons. I am going to make a change in my life. So you can do a massive change just by sheer of will, heart, and soul. Okay, and I get that. But for the most part, when we think about it, who do you surround yourself with? Who are the five most closest people to you that you could fight in, that you associate with, whether it's virtually now with COVID or in person? I believe excellence breeds excellence. When I was at the Naval Academy at Annapolis many, many years ago, 45 plus years ago, I was lucky that the fellows I went to school with were all capable people. Okay, that was important, and that also elevates your game. Not so much that you're in competition with each other, but you inspire each other.
Hmm.
You inspire each other. So excellence breeds excellence. Who you surround yourself with, right, is so important.
I 1000% agree with this one because
Mm.
on it, since my kind of growth journey started over 6 years ago, the first thing I did was just get rid of all the negative friends and the negative people around me. And sometimes it's difficult. I know someone listening right now is probably thinking, but Sadiq, how do I get rid of some of the negative people in my family? And I get that because I had my own parents and some of my siblings who were just very negative in the beginning stages of my journey, when they would just always put me down and say, stop doing this business thing, or stop trying to, you know um stop trying to, go after your dream, or do this passion, or make this content and like be on social media and stuff. Like, stop all of this stuff. And also they were like, stop going out every single day and coming home late. They didn't even know what I was doing. I was going to events, hustling, I was going to events. I was going to like literally just to stay out of the negative zone. I was going to hotel lobbies and cafes to sit down, to learn, to read, to listen to audiobooks, to just literally put out content on social media. And I was just like, I want to, everything that I'm learning from personal development, I want to share with the world. I don't want to be that selfish guy that just knows a lot of, just has a lot of wisdom and has gone through a lot in life. but doesn't share it with anyone, because that's just, in my opinion, just being selfish. So I decided to share it with everyone, and that's where I got to where I am today, is just by sharing my experiences, things I learn, what inspires me, who inspires me, and stuff like that. And that's what really gave me the growth mindset that I have. And like you said, I just started surrounded myself. I automatically just started finding amazing friends, people. Just before the call, you said something really important that really hit me. You said the people, similar to what you just shared now, about the people that you surround yourself with matters the most.
Mhm.
I think honestly, like when I just got rid of those negative people, or distance myself from the family members and the siblings by going out every single day and not being around their energy,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
attracted those people. I attracted those good, positive, energetic people into my life, who are now today my friends, or people like Doug and other people that I've had on the podcast as well. I just attracted them through social media, through offline, through events. And I believe it's because of the energy and the love and the positivity that I put out there, is how I'm attracting these people to me, because we both have that one thing in common.
You said something really important, when we chatted before the call, and, I talked about who you are now is where you are when. Who you are now is where you were when in your life. Was it a chance encounter? Did you show up for an interview? Did you enroll in a program? But you know what that comes back to is, some people think it's random. I normally think it's not random. The importance of choice.
Hmm.
You chose, and your energy took you to the point where you sat next to somebody at a coffee shop, and he or she told you about personal development, or you decided to enroll in a course even though it cost a couple $100 that perhaps you didn't have, but you met somebody there that changed the direction of your life. And sometimes in our connection, Sadiq, it's almost like in great team basketball. The great player many years ago, he actually ran for president, Bill Bradley, who was a Rhodes Scholar. Bill Bradley, many years ago, he always said in team basketball, it's the pass that leads to the pass that leads to the basket.
Hmm.
So rarely is it A to B that one person does it.
Hmm.
So if you think in your journey, the connection that leads to the next connection, that leads to an encounter or another connection that perhaps could change your life. So that's always interesting, when we go about, and sometimes we try to analyze these things too much, but
Yeah.
we never walk alone. And
No,
that's why
exactly.
who you put yourself, who you choose to put yourself around you makes so much of a difference in how you're going to elevate your life. Um, number four, number four is one close to my heart. Life is like a circle. The end of one journey is the beginning of a next. Life is like a circle. The end of one journey is the beginning of a next. And what I mean by that is there will be loss, and none of us pursue loss. None of us go after or want loss in life. I've had a good number of loss in my life, and I'm only going to talk about one. When I was 21 years old, the day after I graduated Annapolis, my entire family was down there. Big event, 4 years of college, very demanding. Going into the Navy for 6 years. The next day, after graduation day, I was driving my older sister, who was 28. I was 21 at the time, and my aunt, my dad's sister, to the airport. We never made it. I was in a very horrific car accident. My sister died, and my aunt died in the car. I did not. I was 21 years old.
Wow.
Okay, that's a heavy burden to take on in life. And you say, well, how do you respond to that? How do you make sense of that? Um, what's important is in life, Sadiq, is how we respond to loss. Yes, we must grieve. You have to go through that process. If it's a death, it doesn't necessarily have to be a life and death loss. This
Mhm.
is the example I'm giving. But we will be evaluated and looked at in how we responded to the loss. And I submit in my journey, and there's been others, I'm not going to go through all of them, how you respond to loss is a key. If you're physically and spiritually strong, you'll be able, getting back to number one again, to respond to that loss. I'll use the word better, or be able to respond. And then also with every loss, there is an opportunity. This sounds self-serving, but it's not meant to be. There's an opportunity to do something and to get inspiration to do something that perhaps you would not have done because of the loss. Sometimes emotion is powerful. It could work for you, it could work against you. But I submit on my various losses, there was something I chose to do that the person who had either died or whatever that loss was, and I was inspired to go to another level and either create something or do something that would make my life better. So, with every loss, how are we going to respond to adversity or challenge? Doesn't have to be life or death. And you'll be remembered on how you responded.
That is just so powerful. I was just listening, just thinking, wow, like, so number one, I'm sorry for your loss at that age.
Yeah,
Like
that was 40,
that
that was
must have been
45 years ago. Yeah.
yeah, that must have been really tough. I can honestly, I can only imagine like how that would feel, you know, in the moment, as you said, like the loss in the moment is when you go through the most pain. But as you said again, if you're spiritually and physically able, or you work on that spiritual and physical part of yourself, then you can get through that pain, or whatever that pain is, you can get through it in life. And that also, I believe, makes us so much stronger as a person in every aspect of our life from there on.
Yeah. And, you know, Sadiq, and one of the things is it's, you'll have more compassion in your life if you have experienced loss. And again, I've known people that have never experienced any tragic loss in their lives. Beautiful, wonderful. You know, life is meant to be enjoyed, not endured. Okay. And wonderful. So it's not like, yeah, here's my five. You know, I broke my leg here. This happened. No,
Yeah, it's
it's
not
not like that.
competition.
But each time you do learn something about yourself, and it
Yeah.
gives you the opportunity to go deeper, and that's important. Number five is a very profound one, and it was reinforced recently this year, and perhaps I don't want to say relearned, but reinforced. The greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return.
Hmm.
And I'll say that again. The greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return. Sadiq, I don't know you intimately, but you are a giver. I don't know you, you know, we don't have a huge history, and a lot of people that I've talked to recently on podcasts, I don't know a lot of them. But the key thing is you're givers. You give of your time, you give of your love to people. Okay. This is very, very important. But just as important, Sadiq, is to receive, is to receive. Many of us who are givers, and I know many of your listeners probably are, is you can give love in a lot of different ways in life. You can give it physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, all very important, all all well intentioned. It's part of who we are. But you must receive back. You must receive back, and to be willing to receive that love back when somebody gives to you in kind. I think on my journey, I've had some difficulty in receiving back. This year, I met a woman online in my 60s on an online dating site. Her name was Gayle. And I was captivated by Gayle. Um, the short story is, and it wasn't really a long story ultimately, she was battling stage 4 cancer when I first met her on the phone, and then when I first met her. I did not care. I was so captivated by this woman's courage and her choice to embrace life and love, even though it was 4 years since she got diagnosed with a stage 4 breast cancer. She had had a mastectomy, she had had radiation, chemo. She still put herself out there as a woman to meet somebody. And I had a beautiful relationship with Gayle for 63 days. She was relatively healthy. Then sadly, the cancer came back, moved to her brain. And the last 63 days that I knew Gayle, she was in hospice and in the last stage of life until she finally transitioned this past May. So I knew Gayle 126 days, 11 minutes. And it was such a profound experience that I wrote a book about it. 126 days, 11 minutes, our love story. And I wrote the book in 6 weeks between May and July of this year. And I just launched it in October. But the bigger story is the lesson I learned from Gayle. And that is to love somebody unconditionally and to receive that love back, which we both did. You know, right now, Sadiq, we're in a conditional world sometimes. How much money do you have? Where do you live? How many houses do you own? What do you look like? And there's sometimes all these conditions on what you should do. Or if somebody's struggling, oh, don't go out with them. If somebody's sick, ooh, don't do that. That's too risky. But what I learned from Gayle was just that. The greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return. Very powerful relationship. And I'll leave that as my fifth lesson. Very, very powerful one.
That's amazing. And I'm so glad that you mentioned the book as well, because I think even for me, it's just so curious. Like I'm just gonna get the audio book and listen to how those 121 days, is it?
126 days.
126 days, you said. So I'm just fascinated, really. I'm just fascinated by how, like, honestly, plus you said you wrote it in 6 weeks. So how did you manage to go through all of that in 126 days? And then within 6 weeks after her passing, managed to just get all those thoughts and emotions out on paper and just send it to the world. And I think for anybody listening, make sure you guys go and check that book out, number one, because I'm pretty sure it's going to captivate you, because it's something very unique, right? Something so powerful and different. It's not just like, oh, I wrote a book of my life like everyone else does, right? Like so many people tell me to write a book and I'm like, no, not now. Later on in life, not now. I'm still young. I want to experience more in life, have more setbacks and failures, then I'll write a book. I don't just want to write a book because I want to be New York's best-selling or London's best-selling book author. Like, I don't care about that. The accolades mean nothing to me. What means something to me is what you were talking about, Larry, which is the connection, the giving the love, receiving the love, is being there for your friends, being there for one another, spreading love, positivity, kindness, compassion into the world, especially this year during COVID, and how hard it's been for so many people, whether it's with mental health battles or with loneliness or just so many other challenging moments that some of even my own personal friends have gone through. I can only kind of like imagine how it felt like for those people to have gone through what they are or what they went through.
Oh,
And so
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, and during a year of challenge with COVID, and we've all been challenged on um, one way, shape, or form, and sadly, so many of our brothers and sisters have passed away because of it. Not to make this a downer discussion here, but that is adversity, and how we get through that adversity and respond to it is so important. And love is important. Love is important, and it is the answer in life. And looking back at my 65 years, love, you cannot have enough of it, and you cannot give enough of it. I mean, really, when I think about it. But that's the fifth lesson, and perhaps this year, so reinforced, and as you said, so powerful. Yeah.
Love that. That's literally the best ending I can have for the show, because it's the way you just summed it up, everything in 5 lessons, and then how you just ended it was just beautiful. But before I end the show, Larry, I always ask my guests this one question, and maybe we shift it back from the downer to like a more positive ending now.
Yeah.
Although of course in life is always up. There's going to be ups and downs. We all go through hardships and we all go through wins and success. But it's just about balancing out both of them and learning from both failures and success. And so the question I want to ask you, Larry, is, could you imagine for me for a second that you are standing on a stage with 90,000 people in front of you, and you are giving this keynote speech? You can imagine it like a TED stage. you
Hmm.
standing on the red carpet. You just gave a phenomenal speech. You shared your 126 days with Gayle, and you shared
Hmm.
that experience and the story and the life lessons that you learned through that. And right at the end, you were told to just share one sentence to leave the crowd captivated to remember you for the rest of their life. What would that one sentence from your mouth be?
Life has been beautiful. I have no regrets.
I love that. Life has been beautiful and I have no regrets. Could you like elaborate a little bit on that? Because I'm really curious now. You got me curious to know.
Yeah, I believe that um, life and our ability to live it each day and to be present each day is a gift. And all we have is today, Sadiq. The yesterdays. Actually, my experience with Gayle, we didn't live in the yesterday, and we couldn't live too far into the tomorrow because she was sick. But each day we embraced life, and it was a beautiful thing. And no regrets. Regrets can be a downer in life. Regrets mean I could have done something, I didn't do that. I could have done this, I chose not to. I could have done this. And when you live your life without regrets, regret is different than learning a lesson. Okay? Learning a lesson is you tried something, you did something. Perhaps it didn't work out exactly like you thought. All right? But you were in the arena and you put effort in and you learned something from it. A regret is you were never in the arena.
Hmm.
You never tried something. You never took action. And that then, when you look back at your life, say, man, I could have been on that podcast with Sadiq and I chose not to go on it because I had something busier to do. And 2 years later, Sadiq is one of the key influencers in the world. And I decided I didn't, I regret not accepting that invitation. I have had, that's what I would say to that audience. And up to now, I could honestly say that on my walk, life is beautiful and I have no regrets. And man, if you can finish your life, finish your dash, finish your journey, however it's going to end, and someday it'll end for all of us, that is a very, very powerful and healthy way to transition to the next higher level of consciousness. Yeah.
So beautiful. I love it. I love it, Larry. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. Thank you so much for sharing your life lessons and for everything that you shared on the show. I'm so captivated by your wisdom, your lessons, and just your perspective of life as well. And I'm so grateful that we got connected through Doug, and I'm so looking forward to stay connected and help each other however we can. And if I can ever be of service to you, I'm always here ready with my hand wide open. And guys, if you're still listening, make sure you guys go and check out Larry's new book. I will put all the links under the YouTube video and all over the podcast. So please, 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 if there's one thing that you do from listening to his wisdom, is go and check out that book. Get it on Audible like me if you want to listen to it, which is the Audible version's coming out in January, said Larry, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So
126 days, 11 minutes, our love story. Yeah.
beautiful. I'm going to put all those links in below, Larry. But your last kind of sentence to kind of end the show, and then I hope everybody goes and follows you on social media and checks out your work, checks out the videos that you have on YouTube, and
Hmm.
I'm really looking forward to share your wisdom with the world, Larry.
Sadiq is hope. During this very challenging year, uh, the um, the author Martin Groupman said, "To have the audacity to continue to hope. Hope is a very, very powerful world and a word. And when you have hope and maintain hope, a miracle just may happen in your life. And hope is a good thing. So even during this more challenging year, maintain hope going into this new year as we finish this challenging year, as we go into the new year, that things will be brighter and maintain hope for better times ahead. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Love it. Larry, honestly, once again, thank you so much for being with me on the show. And I'm so grateful that we got connected. And I certainly will be taking action on the 5 lessons that you shared. And I hope everyone else listening got so much value to go and take action on those as well. And I will stay in touch with you, Larry, and make sure that everybody that I know personally will go and check out your book, because I'm really curious to know um, how you wrote that in 6 weeks and then shared I'm pretty sure you shared your heart and soul into that, because it's such a deep thing. So keep up the amazing work, and keep in touch with me.
Sadiq, thanks for the honor. Thank you for all your listeners. You're doing great things. Continue your beautiful journey, and I will be following you. Absolutely.
Thank you, Larry. Take care of yourself.